Hi folks, this is Michael with Michael's Backyard Marina. Wanted to go over today with you. I'm rebuilding my sending units and trim sensor limit switch that came off my 1976 Starcraft. Has 124 horsepower Mercruiser inboard outboard, and this is off the stern drive. The worst part about this process and this project is getting the components, all the wiring out of the stern drive. You can see here the condition of the wiring that was there. Pretty bad. Just breaks and crumbles in your hands. And what's funny is all the rest of the wiring on the boat is in tip-top shape. My understanding is the type of wire they used on this particular, on these Mercuries, I guess this is an ongoing problem for a lot of years, and they just disintegrate and crumble over time. So, and there again, it's been in play for 30 plus years. So what I found, believe it or not, I cut a sample off. I went to the hardware store today, and look at there. I found some lamp cord. It's white, but I don't care, and it's just a little bit bigger as far as the outside diameter goes over what is currently in there. Should carry any current, any voltage, anything I need just fine. The only thing I will probably have to do here is, you can see that this piece here, there's two of them, one for each side, that works together. So we can get this picture, but they're tapered, works together like this. And then there's a keeper that's on this thing that slips through everything and traps that in place. So these would be, as well, get them slip through here like this. And this would go together on the back of the transom like so. And that traps it, pinches, wedges, make sure the wiring don't pull one way or the other. It's a pretty good little deal. Pain in the butt to get out. You got to take the gimbal loose. You got to pull your stern drive off. Now, some videos I've watched said that you don't have to take your stern drive off. I say, instead of spending 2 to 3 hours trying to get that nut and bolt loose, spend the 10 minutes to pull the rest of that stuff off. A couple of gaskets, and I'll go back over that when I put it back together. There's only an O-ring that needs to be replaced. And as you can see, this gasket came apart in 2 pieces. And I happen to have gasket material in stock. I'm going to trace it out and cut my own gasket so I don't have to buy it. I'm not cheap, I'm frugal, so we'll just go with that. Let's just call it that. So inside one of these, let's pull one apart. There's 2 different ones. There'll be 2 different configurations inside here. As you can see here, there's 3 Phillips screws, or 4 Phillips screws on the outside we'll pull off. Which come out like that. And we'll get those removed. Once we get to a certain point, I'll pause it and do some work and show you the results of it, show you some of the process of putting new ends on, what I do for soldering and heat shrink to make a nice good connection. Because these are very rebuildable. There's nothing here that isn't rebuildable. Now you can, on eBay I found that you can buy a pair of these for about 70 bucks. Has the same wiring on it that I do believe that is been used on them. Will do the same thing over time, but there again, if this lasts me 5 or 6 years, I'm not calling it a bad job. So let's see here. I pulled that apart, and let's pull these screws out. I'll be learning right here with you folks. You want to take this apart, I'm gonna, whoops, drop my screwdriver. I'm gonna take these apart and take a look at what I can do, what needs to be cleaned up in them, and we'll go from there. As you can see here where these wires came in, see how good that shows up. One goes right here, one goes here to a little eyelet connection. Pretty simple replace. So it's not like it's that hard to do. Soldering iron and some heat shrink tubing. Like I said, a couple of eyelets. We'll be back in business. And yeah, a little bit of pride in knowing that you fixed it yourself versus just went out and bought a new one. Nothing against you if you went out and bought replacements either. You're going to have just as much of a chore taking the old ones out and putting the new ones in as you are the rebuilt ones. So, okay. Now I'm going to pause this and take that apart. Hold on. Okay, there's just enough lip right around here on this edge. Just a nice little sharp straight blade screwdriver on one side I got in there, and I was able to just give it a little tweak. It popped it apart. Let's see what we got under here. Whew! Loaded up with grease. Now looking at this inside here, this one has a continuous piece of, I forget what that's called. It's like a rheostat. So this is the tilt indicator sender. So what this will do is tell you how far your trim is up or down on your gauge on your dash. So that's what that one's all about. I'm not so sure it's supposed to be full of all this, but as dry as this is on the backside, and I can't help but think that that might be part of the factory mess. I have no idea. I've seen other people take them apart and they're completely dry inside. So anyway, that's what's inside that one. And then this one had a little gasket on the backside. Same amount of screws. So I'll take this one apart and we'll come back and look at it too. Okay, I'm back. And I was wrong. As you can see here, this one has a bunch of fine little wires. I don't know if you see that in the video very good. The fine little wires across here. This is the rheostat side. This would actually, it's got a TP on the side. I'm guessing that stands for trim position. This is on facing the back of the boat. This is on the right-hand side of the boat. And so that'll have to be cleaned up. You can see there's a lot of corrosion there. These are some real fine wires. I got to be real careful cleaning this up. I'm gonna get some solvent in here. I might do a little penetrating oil with some PB Blaster. See if I can break some of this loose, get it cleaned up nice, because the outside looks really good. It's just a little rough around the edges here. So this one actually has the two plates. So this would actually operate in this fashion. So it'd be coming up, and go, and it would stop. It wouldn't go up any higher than that. Then, when you want to override it for trailering, you'd pull both switches or push both buttons on your dash, and it would come on up and around. But it won't let the one switch, once this makes contact, the one switch won't come up any further. So, as you can see, that's supposed to be down against there, makes contact. So, all comes apart pretty easy. As you can see there, that lifts out. I can clean all this up, make it pretty. It's got a couple of O-rings in there that's supposed to keep things nice and clean. Obviously in this one, moisture got in there and did a little number on things. So I'll clean these up, get them pretty before I pull the wires off the back, and we'll go from there. Be right back. Okay, I'm back. I want to show you my progress so far. I have cleaned up this half. I took some real fine sandpaper, really fine, and just shine that up so it's nice and clean, so it makes good contact. Got this piece all cleaned up. Got my new wiring done on the back. As you can see, I've got it fitted in here real nice. This wiring is a touch bigger than the other wiring, so I had to open this up a little bit with a drill bit, and I'll show you how I did that in a minute. I'm putting a little bit of dielectric grease on this O-ring to work as a lubricant and help seal things up a little bit too. Never hurts. A little dielectric grease goes a long ways. We'll put that in there. Should slide right in. Has some resistance because of the O-rings that are there, but moves freely. You can see the path in which that takes. Let me get this in the light just right. Whoa. Right like that. Well, oh, thank gosh it was hooked to the wires. So that part's rebuilt. Now I'm ready to put the cover back on. Pretty slick, huh? So yeah, there's a little gasket. This one has a little gasket on it that didn't come off. This other one that did had to pull the gasket off carefully, and it came off in one piece, which is great. But yeah, now I can take this cover. There's no reason why that can't go back together, and that's ready to go back on the boat. Got all my screws here. That we can button this bad boy right up. And as you can see here, these are slotted. This is where it mounts on there, so you can adjust the trim where it turns on and turns off, so you can have it where you want it. There's measurements. I'll get to that when you put it back together. How far apart the lift cylinders should be extended. There's a maximum there, so you want to set your trim there, and that's designed so you don't accidentally lift your motor out of the water while you're running at speed, because then you could run out of water going to your cooling. You could overheat things, mess up your impeller. Nothing good comes of it. So those are in there. And just like that, I've got one of them rebuilt, ready to go on. I'll show you exactly how I trim the ends on the next one. I use this as a practice, so I know what I'm doing while I'm showing you guys for real. All the wiring's back in place. I got nice lightly crimped areas on each end with a soldered joint. Should never lose contact, should never break, should last the life of the wire. Okay, I'm back. Michael's Backyard Marina. I got to give a quick shout out to my son Kurt. He got me this awesome tripod. It has a trigger. Look at that bad boy. Isn't that cool? So it's a standard tripod for the most part. It's got this quick release handle. It's way better than what I was using. Let's see. Here's what I was using. A little homemade wooden thing with a couple of straps to hold the phone in place. It's squeaky. He watched a couple of my videos and said, you got to have something better. So he brought this over to me yesterday. This is incredibly awesome. Super duper. It's even got a spring loaded, so it traps my phone. So just want to give him a quick shout out. Say thank you, bud. It's an awesome, thoughtful gift. Appreciate it very much. Now I'm going to show you folks what I did. I'm going to put this in my holder. Oh, that's so slick, so smooth. I can aim it around. I promised you I'd show you how I did it's down a little closer here. How I did the repair. Now I did determine that this other sensor, this is the trim sending unit that tells you where the position of your trim is out on your boat. This one happened to be completely shot. This one had too much rust in it. As you can see, these little fine wires that are on here. Let's see if I can get that to show up. But you can see them move a little bit. I had a couple wires that were broke, and I don't see the piece. Oh, here it is. This was super rusty on there. I tried to do my best to clean it up, but there's a couple of fine wires sticking off of here. See it if I get it right there. And it just wasn't going to work, so I wasn't able to rebuild that one. But I will show you how I got the wiring in here to fit, so that you would know how to do that if you are repairing yours. The other one I did repair. I got it installed. It works great. No issues. Let me come over here to my drill press, and I'll show you how I got the wiring to fit. And this isn't the proper use of a drill by any stretch of the imagination. It's dangerous. It can slip. You can hurt your fingers on it. So, but you can see here that this wire is a little bit bigger than my other wire. It doesn't quite fit in the slot. You can see that it takes a little bit of opening up to make it work. So what I did is this number right here. This might be a little noisy, but you take this drill bit, you can get down in there. See if I can get it in here. And apply a little side pressure. And you can see it carving out a little bit of that plastic. Then I push it the other way, carve out a little bit of plastic on that side, blow it out a little bit, and then I check to see if the wires will fit. Oh, it looks like it looks like I need to go just a little bit more. Let's just some down and dirty fixes here, but it worked really well. That's why I'm sharing it with you. On the other housing I've got in place, it worked really well. Let's see here. Look at that. Just barely got in there. It holds it. It's a good fit. That'll shove right in there, just like that. So turn that off. So that puts that in play right there, real nice. Now what I did, let's go back over to the bench. This is my makeshift bench, just a piece of plywood on top of my table saw for now. As you can see, I cut some gaskets yesterday on it too, so it's a sacrificial piece. So now what I want to do is take this particular cord, and it'll split like that. And then what you want to do is lay it in here. Now me, I laid it in here, get this in the right spot, laid it in here just about right where it was going to lay if I was going to install it. Come back around like this. You can lay that in the groove that you already created, kind of get it in position. You can see where that one needs to go. Then all I did was took that short one there and cut it off approximately where it needed to be. About, let's just say right there. You can see where that lays in there nice and neat now. And I can go ahead and finish tucking that in if I wanted to, but I don't need to. Then, take your wire stripper. So you don't want to split this any further than you have to. Keep things nice and tight. I strip about, not quite a 1/4 inch. You can see there. I've got these little eyelets right here. I was able to slip that right on there. See, the wire just comes out the end there just a touch. And I took this, my needle nose pliers, and just gave it a little, keep things flat. I gave it a little squeeze. Whoops, not enough. As you can see, it moved off. Let's get back here a little further. There. I crimped it just enough that it doesn't come off. Whoops. I'm a liar. I'll never get that back in there now without messing up my wire. So I got another one here. That lets you know this isn't rehearsed, is it, folks? Get my other one out here that I haven't crimped. Get that slid in there again. And what I do is I crimp it just enough. I didn't want to crush it. There, it's on there. It's not crazy on there. Not too tight, not too crazy hard. Let's see if I can get this down here so I can show you how I soldered it. Let's get this off the edge. See if I can zoom up on here a little bit. And what I did for soldering it is I like heating up the back part of the, let's hold this flat here. Heating up the back part, getting it good and hot, and melt the solder in from the top. That way you can kind of see it wet in like you want. Well, it takes a little bit, depending on how powerful of a soldering iron you have. Might be able to see it starting to smoke a little bit here. There you can see it melting on top there. A little more heat and it'll probably wet right in. There, it's starting to see what it did there. It just wetted right in, nice and clean. So you can see how, see if we can get that to focus up. Got a nice clean solder there. That's not going to come off. That's hot. Hot, hot, hot. But now you can see how that little eyelet, this eyelet was a little bit bigger than my other one I had, but that would pop right in. Oops, that would pop right in there. So that's one thing you want to make sure is your eyelet fits. You can see that that bad boy would go right in there. If a little pressure, I can put that right in there. You can see it lines up with the screw hole. Then you push that right down in there in the groove. You do the same thing on this one over here, that you see pictured in the one I have done. Do the same thing over here. You'd have yourself a really nice connection that's not going to come loose. This cord is nice and pliable. It should stay pliable for a lot of years. And that's how you fix that. That's just a quick shot as to how I did the other one that I currently have in place. There. Appreciate you watching. And later on, I'll get the trim. You get another video, I'll get the trim sender unit all dialed in. Show you some of the key points there. Did a little. My son and I did a little troubleshooting on the wires. Got that figured out last night, actually. So I'm pretty tickled to kind of button that up and get that back into the boat, all put back together so that it's ready to go in the water. And all I got to do is get the horns working and a couple of electronic devices up front. I want to get it wired up nice and neat, and hopefully drop it in the water next weekend. Stay tuned. Stay sharp.